And we're back, guys, with episode 4. You guys didn't think I would get this far, did you? But I'm here and ready to talk to our next guest speaker. Today's guest speaker is someone who I grew up with and has grown tremendously over the years. From Stoneman Douglas days to UCF days, this guy is making a name for himself out in LA. Shout out to UCF Knights and shout out to Stoneman Douglas. This guest specializes in the real estate industry, specifically short-term rentals, but he has an extensive amount of knowledge in his field, and I'm excited to see what insight he can bring us. Not to mention another guy who moved across country to pursue his dreams and get out of his comfort zone. So now, without further ado, here is Jordan Pollack. How are you, man?
Appreciate it. Very nice to see you. Very nice to be here. Part of Compass, one of the biggest real estate teams in the United States on Aaron Kerman Group. We recently had a show on CNBC. Aired on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. called Listing Impossible. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I've heard of it.
That has been very good to me. And I have my own real estate company called LA Luxuries. We specialize in vacation rental homes around West LA. So Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Hollywood Hills, and West Hollywood.
Awesome. So real quick, for those who aren't familiar with short-term rentals and vacation rentals, tell me a little bit about that.
So short-term rentals and vacation rentals are any property that's fully furnished that you could rent out for a short-term basis. You could rent them out for events, film production, TV, commercial, or someone relocating. You may have someone coming in for an insurance claim, and it's a way for people to make a premium on their property and keep it for themselves on a seasonal basis.
So today, Jordan's going to be sharing his experience working during these unsettling times. With us spending more time than ever in our houses these days, I'm sure there's been plenty of time to think about where the market is going, what you guys want to do with your house in the near future, things of that nature. Should I buy? Should I rent? Jordan's here to help us bring us some clarity and insight to what's remained unknown in his industry.
So definitely, we're in the middle of the pandemic right now. There are some people who are, dread this time, but other people save up their entire lives to purchase a home right now. They think this is the best time to buy. This is the time that they can finally, buy their dream home. And you have the other side of the spectrum where people may need to sell because they have a lot of debt and they don't know if they're still going to have a job or if their salary is going to change. Some people are very confident in this market, and some people are very hesitant. So it's definitely, you have equal sides.
With that, do you personally feel that this is a good time to rent or a good time to buy, or what's your opinion?
Real estate, it's always a good time to buy. I don't really believe in selling unless, you're not covering your cost. But it's always a good time to buy. It's always a good time to rent out your property. There's always going to be people in need of housing.
I see that you're doing big things over here, but before that, let's backtrack a little bit, because I remember that you originally came out here to want to do some movies, screenwritings, things of that nature. So what was your change of direction that you felt like was the point that you wanted to get into the real estate business?
So I moved out here, obviously with your help, right? We drove here together. And that was a wild ride and very fun. Yeah. And I came here to make movies. I was initially flown out to LA to pitch a script for a distributor. And 3 weeks into moving out here, I met a girl. 3 months after dating that girl, I knew this is the girl I'm gonna marry.
Small world, man.
And I thought, you know what? I may have to put my own personal, interest on the side to create a family. And I always had background in real estate, always was interested in real estate. My grandfather owned a very big development company in New York called the Landmark Group. My grandmother was a broker herself, and so I naturally went that direction. And I thought, even though I love film, family to me is number one. I'm gonna start at the bottom. I'm gonna be an assistant. I'm gonna make, just learn everything first and then work my way up. And that's exactly what I did.
With that being said, what is it like being a real estate agent during this pandemic going
on? In case you didn't know, real estate agent in general has a pretty tough business. It's not like they show on TV, they show it easily. You show the house, they want to buy it, you sign the documents, and you get your check. It's not really like that. Right? You have a lot of, first of all, you have to create the contacts. You need to know who you're talking to. You need to know the residents of your area, and you need to know escrow and documentation like the back of your hand. And especially in LA, when you're dealing with high-end property, you need to know it back and front. So, in general, it's a tough business, and the pandemic just made it even more stressful. You have agents that haven't made deals in a while. You have deals falling apart through through the pandemic. People who are in the middle of escrow when the pandemic started now saying, I don't know what the future is going to look like. So they pull their offer back or they reduce their offer by 20-30%. And that affects the industry as a whole. It affects the agents because we eat that, we eat that stress. And buying and selling a property is considered one of the top 5 most stressful things you can do in your life. Number 1 being, a relative passing away. So it's definitely can get stressful. But if you have the right contacts, you stay strong, confident, positive, you can make it.
It's all about who you know these days.
It's about who you know. It's about your trust in yourself.
Yep.
I think if you can make it during this pandemic, and 20 years from now, you're going to be a very successful company.
Exactly. That's the cool thing about working during this pandemic. I mean, obviously there's people that are doing things that are out of their element, and not only that, but some of the best startups come from times like this. So like you said, it'd be interesting to see where we're at 15, 20 years from now, just to see what's grown, what has happened.
Right. Specifically, touching on that, I myself got involved in some PPE equipment. I'm starting to broker some PPE equipment, hand sanitizer, masks. We sold some things to the government, and not only that, whatever you can get your hands on, you try to do it, and you try to really touch all the bases. I try to get into exotic car leasing, and sometimes the vacation home market takes you to people want to throw an event in the backyard. And, very interesting people come about, and you can make new business ventures. And I really believe that knowing people and networking really is a business in itself, and you don't have to own anything. You don't even have to sell anything. If you know someone, you can make money.
I mean, ultimately, if you're a people person and you network with the right people, like you had said, it just opens up more doors and opportunities for you. From what I've noticed, I mean, just throughout my time within my career,
Yeah, absolutely. Very true.
Definitely have seen that. I've noticed one thing in particular is that a lot of the people who have lived here their entire lives, or even just moved here recently, they're looking into leaving California. I know the cost of living is obviously exponential compared to other places, but with that being said, what do you feel about that, or why is it that people are all of a sudden picking up and leaving to places such as Arizona, Utah, Florida, places like that?
Yeah, so all around the world, I'm sure people are picking up and moving because they're being told by their employer that you're now working from home, right? Or you're being laid off, and we'll let you know if your job is still here when this is all over. So people are thinking, why am I going to pay these crazy prices when I'm not going to be able to utilize the resources of my city? I'm not going to be able to go into work, which is close by. That's why I bought my house, or that's why I rented my property. And they're going to more rural areas, cheaper areas where they can live better lives, quarantined in their homes, and work from home.
Land too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. Go there for a few years, amass some additional money, and when it's all over, then move back to where you want to go, and hopefully you have more money because you didn't have to spend in that expensive city.
Nice. I definitely can see the benefits from that, especially in the long run. Are there any new COVID-19 addendas that you have noticed that have been implemented now versus pre-pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to have the liability of having someone come into their house for a showing and then get sued over, saying that they gave people corona. So you have to sign specific forms, the pandemic-related liability form, which it needs to be signed before a showing. But in general, there's a lot of different protocols we have now. Some houses are not allowing showings at all. They're only virtual.
So I see in this day and age, especially virtual and digital is really taking over this generation, and I feel like a lot of things are headed there, to say the least.
Yeah, I tried everything myself. I really believe in the concept of hitting zero. What I mean by that is any time you have things that you need to do, you gotta hit all of them, even if they're uncomfortable, even if you don't want to do them. As long as they're legal, hit them. I did Facebook, I did Google, I did Instagram, I did word of mouth, referrals. I called up interior designers, I called up insurance agents, I called up everyone I could think of because I don't want anything to do. I want to be able to say, you know what, I don't know what else to do right now. I did everything. Now that's when you start thinking out of the box. That's when you start doing things that other people don't do. And that's where you find the success.
Beat your competition. I gotta ask you, what do you think the long-term outlook is in your industry? Like, where do you see it going overall? overall?
Vacation industry is new. It's not so new, but it's new for most millennials because we know Airbnb. But it's been around for years, 20, 30 years. You know, vacation homes have been around, people renting their homes on a seasonal basis. Everybody can do it, basically. Right? You can throw up your property on Airbnb, Zillow, MLS, hire an agent, right? You don't have to pay them until they close. So they're basically working for free. You can rent out your room, rent out your house. You could rent out your backyard for a film production. You could rent out your backyard for an event. Just throw it on, read up on it, make money on your home.
So is there anything else that you feel like our viewers over here should know in regards to the real estate industry when it comes to buying, renting, selling, things of that nature?
You know, anytime you buy it, you really shouldn't go for the lowest thing in the block, and you shouldn't go for the highest property on the block. You should get the middle route, you know, make it your own. Make sure you love it, because you're probably going to be there for many years. Make sure that you understand the rental rates in that area, so that you can, if you needed to rent it out, you're going to make money on it. You know, and eventually, property, especially here in Los Angeles, people get very wealthy owning property. 2008 was a different situation with the loan programs that were created, and so it's not going to happen again. There's not going to be a massive crash, in my opinion, again. It may fluctuate, 10, 20%. No, it's not going to crash like that. There was issues in the lending system that caused that to happen.
Got it. Well, thank you, Jordan. I truly appreciate you being here, man.
My pleasure.
Honestly, always great to see you. Next week, guys, I'll be featuring a guest speaker from the hair industry to talk about his experience working in this pandemic and what he's been going through. Please comment, like, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next week.